You thought the early years were wild? Welcome to the era where legends were born, curses began, and dynasties ruled with a bat in one hand and destiny in the other. Over the next 3 decades, baseball didn't just grow, it exploded. The Yankees built an empire. The Dodgers fled Brooklyn, and a perfect game in the World Series became real. These weren't just games. They were statements, and sometimes they were heartbreaks wrapped in pinstripes. Let's break it down, year by year, because every one of these 30 titles has a story that hits harder than a fastball to the ribs. The 1934 season concluded with the St. Louis Cardinals defeating the Detroit Tigers in a 7-game series. This Cardinals squad ended the regular season by winning 18 of their last 23 games. Fast forward, and they beat Detroit 11-0 to clinch the title. But the team they beat? They weren't done just yet. Detroit found its way back the following season, this time winning by defeating the Chicago Cubs 4-2. This Detroit team set a franchise record with 101 wins this season, and it was also their first World Series championship. To top it all off, the Tigers had Mickey Cochrane as their manager, a former player and Hall of Famer, widely considered one of the best catchers that the game has ever seen. And then came a name that would change everything, DiMaggio. From this point on, we have some utter domination to talk about. The New York Yankees beat the New York Giants in a 6-game series in 1936. Joe DiMaggio made his MLB debut this year and dramatically improved the team's roster. He recorded 206 hits, of .323 batting average and 125 RBIs. As a team, New York was 19.5 games ahead of the next closest team in the standings. We get a repeat here, with the New York Yankees once again beating the New York Giants for the 2nd consecutive year, this time in 5 games. The Yankees altered their stadium in 1937, undergoing significant changes and reducing what was called Death Valley. Overall, the Yankees outscored the Giants 29-12 in the series, limiting the Giants to 1 run in 3 separate games. By now, it wasn't a rivalry. It was an execution. The Yankees returned for a 3rd straight year in 1938 and swept the Chicago Cubs. It was their 3rd consecutive title. It was the first time in league history that a team had found a way to accomplish this feat in 3 straight seasons. Surprisingly, every single one of their pitchers had an ERA over 3.0. Showing how strong their bats were. Yes, nothing changed the following season. The Yankees yet again made the title series and once again won it all, defeating the Cincinnati Reds in a sweep. Of course, they became the first team to win 4 straight World Series titles. New York held a 106-45 overall regular season record, just one of 3 Yankees teams to ever end a season with a winning percentage that was above .700. Finally, someone broke the streak. Barely. The reign of terror finally stopped for a season, with the Cincinnati Reds marching back into the finals to take on the Detroit Tigers. Cincinnati narrowly escaped a tight series by winning 4 out of their 7 games. It was the first time in franchise history that they won over 1,100 games in a single season, ending with the best record in the National League and eventually claiming their first title since 1919. We couldn't escape it for long, because in 1941, the Yankees returned to the big stage and beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in a 5-game series. Joe DiMaggio couldn't be stopped this season, putting together a hitting streak that lasted a phenomenal 56 games before he was finally stopped. 1941 was also the last year before the United States entered World War II. War was coming, and so was a shocker. Yep, the Yankees returned to another World Series in 1942, but this time the St. Louis Cardinals defeated them in 5 games. Their pitcher, Mort Coupier, won the MVP award this season with a 1.78 ERA and 152 strikeouts under his belt. Surprisingly, they only won the National League pennant by 2 games, as the Brooklyn Dodgers finished with 104 wins compared to the Cardinals' 106. It should be expected by now, but the Yankees won another title this season, beating the St. Louis Cardinals in a 5-game series and successfully avenging their previous defeat. Every single batter on the Yankees roster had finished with a batting average above .230, and only 2 of them were below .249. Billy Johnson starred with a .280 batting average, 94 RBIs, and the most plate appearances. And the next year, it was a city versus itself. We got to witness a town rivalry in 1944 as the St. Louis Cardinals returned to face off against the St. Louis Browns. It only took 6 games to determine a winner, with the Cardinals emerging victorious for their 5th title in league history. Much of their success can be attributed to their shortstop, Marty Marion, who won the MVP award with a .267 batting average, 6 home runs, and 63 RBIs. This also happened to be the 3rd straight year that a Cardinal player won the MVP. A town rivalry ends, only for another storm to begin. The following year had a shakeup, with the Detroit Tigers taking on the Chicago Cubs. In a grueling 7-game series, Detroit came out on top to claim its second title as a franchise. They had the MVP on their roster and pitcher Hal Newhouser, winning the award in back-to-back seasons for the American League. He pitched a whopping 313.1 innings and held a strong 1.81 ERA with 212 strikeouts. After a one-year break, the Cardinals returned to win another title, beating the Boston Red Sox in 7 games. This series featured what was known as Ina Slaughter's Mad Dash. To give them a lead late in Game 7, St. Louis had the MVP on their roster in Stan Musial, batting a .365 average with 103 RBIs and 16 home runs, 1 mad dash, and 1 unforgettable MVP. Joe DiMaggio and the Yankees brought themselves back to the World Series a few years later in 1947 and beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in 7 games. DiMaggio appeared to bat 534 times and held a .315 batting average. Interestingly, this was the first season of the Yankees to be broadcast live on television, thanks to WABD providing the feed to viewers. Baseball was on TV, and one curse was still alive. Some sources claim that the 1948 Cleveland Indians were one of the top 10 teams of all time, which is why they were able to defeat the Boston Braves in a 6-game series to win their first title in 28 long years. Unfortunately, Cleveland hasn't won a title since this moment, giving them the longest active World Championship drought in MLB history. Brace yourselves, because the next few years are going to sound much of the same again. In 1949, the Yankees returned to the World Series and beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in 5 games. This group was actually behind the Red Sox in the standings for much of the season, coming from behind and stealing the pennant from them at the last second, with one more win by the end of the season. The Yankees were back again the following season, sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies this time around. The Associated Press named this group the Team of the Year, which wasn't surprising considering their success. 4 of their batters in the lineup had averages over 300, with Yogi Berra smashing 28 home runs alongside Joe DiMaggio, who hit 32 of them. Unsurprisingly, the Yankees won their 3rd consecutive World Series title in 1951, beating the New York Giants, again, this time in 6 games. It was Joe DiMaggio's final season, but also Mickey Mantle's first. Welcome to the 4th straight season of New York domination, as the Yankees defeated the Brooklyn Dodgers in 7 games. Their 4 consecutive championships tied their own record set just a decade prior. Mantle started to come into his own this season, finishing with a team-high .311 batting average and 171 hits. Can you guess who might be here? If you said the Yankees, you'd be correct. New York won a 5th straight World Series title this year, beating the Brooklyn Dodgers again and doing so in 5 games. The record of 5 straight world titles is one that has yet to be broken to this day and may never be shattered. Don't worry, things finally changed in 1954, with the New York Giants defeating the Cleveland Indians via sweep in the World Series. The New York Giants franchise didn't win another title until 2010 following this moment. Pitcher Carl Spooner set an MLB record during the regular season by striking out 15 batters in a single game. He was a significant contributor to their success. After years of coming up just short, the Brooklyn Dodgers finally won themselves a title, beating the New York Yankees in 7 games. This was an excellent team, leading the league in both runs scored and fewest runs allowed. The Dodgers didn't win another title in Brooklyn before relocating. You can point to several players who contributed to this year's success: Don Newcomb, Roy Campanella, winner of the MVP award, Jackie Robinson, and Pee Wee Reese. Like clockwork, the Yankees came back and won their 22nd pennant before obtaining another World Series title, taking down the Brooklyn Dodgers in 7 games just as they had been defeated a few years prior. This series features the only perfect game in history, with Don Larson pitching a no-hitter during Game 5. The perfect game? That wasn't even the final chapter. The Yankees returned in 1957 but were thwarted by the Milwaukee Braves. This is the first and only championship that the Braves won while in Milwaukee, and they had to fight through 7 games to secure it. Their pitcher, Lou Burdette, was the MVP and superstar of the final series, winning 3 games on the mound. This includes his crucial 7th game that put them over the top. At this point, it's insane. Though the Yankees won another title in 1958 by beating the Milwaukee Braves in 7 games, this was the season that the Yankees became the only New York-based franchise, as the Brooklyn Dodgers relocated to Los Angeles and the New York Giants moved to San Francisco. It wasn't until 1962 that the Mets arrived. For this season, the Yankees were in control. Speaking of the Dodgers, right after they relocated, they went on to win a championship by defeating the Chicago White Sox in the World Series. This team brought in the most fanfare, leading all MLB clubs in home attendance this season. Wally Moon and Charlie Neal were huge for this team, with Neal leading the team in appearances and hits, while Moon led in batting average with 302. In 1960, the Pittsburgh Pirates took the league by storm and beat the massively favored New York Yankees for their first championship in 33 long seasons. Pittsburgh lost games 2 and 3 by a combined score of 26-3, yet they still found a way to rally later in the series and win in 7 games. The following season saw the Yankees get their revenge by winning another title, defeating the Cincinnati Reds in 5 games. This year saw Roger Maris break Babe Ruth's single-season home run record by smashing 61 of them. Mickey Mantle was incredibly close himself, ending with 54 homers on the season. Make it back-to-back championships for the Yankees yet again, with them beating the San Francisco Giants in a 7-game series. This was their 20th championship in franchise history, though it was also their last until 1977, a relatively lengthy drought to their standards. 5 separate players on the team hit at least 20 home runs this year. In 1963, the Los Angeles Dodgers returned to their winning ways by defeating the New York Yankees in the World Series, sweeping them in the process. It was the first time that the Yankees had been swept in the World Series. Los Angeles was fortunate to have pitcher Sandy Koufax, who won the C.Y. Young Award and the MVP award due to their efforts in the season. Koufax was 25-5 with a 1.88 ERA across 301 innings with 306 strikeouts. 30 more years. And the game was no longer just a game. It was business. It was war. It was television. It was history being written in real time. We saw empires rise, mostly in the Bronx. We saw cities lose their teams, and others watch legends walk away after one final swing. We saw perfect games, impossible comebacks, MVPs who carried whole franchises on their backs, and heartbreaks that still echo through fan bases today. Some teams vanished, others moved across the country, but one thing never changed. Every October still meant blood, pride, and legacy. And the wild part? Baseball hadn't even hit its next revolution yet.